This is a Dirshu Mishnah Brura as we continue Simin Reish Mem Gimel. We continue with Sif Beis, in which the Machaber begins by teaching us, in as much as in Sif Aleph, we made a clear differentiation between a Merchatz and a Tanur, says the Machaber now, as we spoke out, that Afilu Merchatz, or Tanur, even a Merchatz, even a tanur, im eschiram shana achar shana v'nispar seima davra idikach. If year after year they're rented out, and it's now public knowledge, shein dar koilischar poilim elulahaskiram. And similarly, v'cheinim min agroy v'ancheisa makam laschiram, oilin nabarisos, which are the permissible forms, then motor laschiram then yudi olin aloy baris. And this really solidifies that which we learned back in Sif Aleph, which is that it's not a din in a merchat or a tanur specifically, but rather it has to do what is the norm, what is the roiv, and everything is dependent upon that. If his man has that, the roiv would be different, then the din would be different. It has the marasayin of Sif Aleph, the marasayin that one seems and thinks that which one did is a forbidden form of schiros, is when that's the roiv. If the roiv is not that way, then the din will change. Says the Mishnah Berurah Sivkot in Yud Aleph, before we get into the Ramah, mutter oilinam desu lekach shada, because then there's no longer a chshat. And even if that person or that place only does chiros, because once that is normal, we don't have to worry that people will suspect anything else. We continue with the Ramah. Even when it's forbidden, if the merchatz or the tanur does not belong to the yid, rak schara mein Yehudi, he rented it from a guy, v'chazer v'askirum lein a Yehudi, and then he rented it back to the guy, shari, meaning, if it was a guyish item that was now in the possession of the yid that's going back to a guy, that's going to be mutter. Why is that going to be mutter? Says the Ramah, the ain't Shem Yisrael nikra love, because there's no Shem Yisrael, doesn't have this stigma that it's a Yiddish item from the fact that the original owner was a guy and now it's going back to the guy. V'chein, and continues the Ramah, Yishmer Chatz v'beis dira. So one has a bathhouse in his own house, and the only people that utilize this are people of his household. And they, his own household members, know that it is rented, Yehudi, then as well, Shari, it would be mutter. Because again, everything depends upon the norms, what everyone thinks, what everyone knows, etc., etc. We continue with the Mishnah Berurah Sivkot in Yud Beis, Raks Charab. Beisei Zevi B'Shem Chuvas Hagoyinim. To adinim konamein Yehudi, you buy from a guy. V'take even right away kodim shiasha ba'am, before you ever live there. His kiram, you rented out to Lonik or Shemay Alav. Similarly, in such a story, v'yesh lismaich al zeh, and one could be semich on this. Sivkatin Yud Gimel Mein Yehudi, Dimaisha Yisrael near the Asr, for originally was a Yid. It seems it would be also that they say people will suspect that what Yisrael Bala Merchat Sheni Yehudi Uschir Yaimai. People will suspect Yisrael that the Yehudi is a Schir Yaimai, a day worker, and therefore it would be forbidden. But Sivkatin Yadalit continues the case that it came from a guy and it's being rented back to a guy. V'chazer v'eschira. There's some who argue on this, that it has to be that he never utilized this item because he says it because he never got his name because he came from a guy and is going to the guy. We'll just point out one of the Kloim, or Chaim Pechashaiberg, of Yav Kamenetsky, often remarked, whenever you have a Mishnah Berurah that says an Aval, he brings one Shita. Yeshaim Aval El Yarabba, that's a Mishnah Berurah's way of teaching you in general that the Aval is the Psak Halacha. So over here it would be Lekula, that if it came from a guy and is going to a guy, even though there was an interim step of a Yid, it is not Nikra Shemay Alav, and therefore it will be Mutter. But Beistiras, if got to Tazvav, I knew Shamerchas Einu Bershus Harab. Rak bechatziroi be'echad mea beistir shalai. This bathhouse is not a Rishus Harabim, it's in his own Rishus. Bechatziroi be'echad mea beistir shalai lakach emein roichatzin bai b'chol. Who uses this bathhouse? This is not used by the public. It's only used for people in his household. It's mutter. Why? No one else knows. Only the people in the household know. And they know who you rented it to. So therefore, it's not a problem. Other people utilize it as well. And everyone knows that the bath. So when afterwards they see that the smoke is Yatziman B'Mei Shabbos, Yelo Deveshlichos Esiku and Yehudi, they'll think that you told the guy to do it, and that's a classical Mara sign that they think that the Yid is hiring the guy to do work and to fire up the bathhouse on Shabbos. And let's say it's a freestanding marachatz in a public where people see it. And even if it's only be utilizing people in his own household, still, everyone knows it's a bathhouse, and not everyone knows that it is rented to a guy. So once the bathhouse is going to be in public, then we're going to have many more issues. Continues the Mishnah Berurah that v'yesh mekilin oid is a further kula. It's its own rishah. You're not in the property of the yid. Other people use the bathhouse. Shari. Why? Because why would anyone think that this is owned by a yid? Who's gonna know? And they know as well that it is rented out to guys. That would be a further kula even than the original case in the Mechaber. We continue with the Dirshu, note number 11. Says the Dirshu that what's the chshad? Do you have a chshad? According to this, says the Dirshu, or the minhag of such a place to do kablanis. The Beralach and Reish Dalet writes, then it is mutter because there's no chshad in such a case. And he adds on, according to the Ran, the Tamisl Schar Pa'el B'Kablanis is why? Because people think, how do people know the difference? They don't know that you're paying him for Kablanis for the job, or they're paying him his Schar Yoim, and they're going to think even Schir is mutter, therefore it's always Aser, says the Sheet of the Ram. However, there is a Makkah to be Mekel. Now, if the Yid gives it to the guy in Erev Shabbos, we're going to see in Reish Beis, why? Because he did it al das Yisrael, because you gave it to him with such a mindset. Now, note number 12 is going on unless the guy is a chelek in the revach of the Shabbosis. Davka says the Dirshu note number 12, you have to give the guy a chelek, because then we say that the guy is working for himself. But if you allow him to wash for free, aside for the wages that he gets, says the Chasam Sofer, that will not be enough. Why not? Because whatever he's terech anachim aver tzarchei arachitza harizeh b'shal aravachim shal Yisrael, so the Yid makes money like every Schar Yoim, and therefore it would be a problem. Let's even just give him a small sliver. Zok the Hiliganite of Yehuda. Even that will be enough. So once it's a percentage, once it's a dot, he's making something per something. That is going to be the big kula. Some saver comes along and says, no, even that is aser. Why? Because the normal artist gets a third, gets a quarter, not such a small amount. But Lamaisa, the Noid Yehuda is making in such a scenario. If you look at Malacha, Lishal for Schiros, says Ramesha Feinstein, Im Noisin Lanachi Chilik Baravachim for Shabbos, then there'll be a makam to be mekel. Minias Revach Gadol, Mutar Filu Chatchil of Zech Esik by Finzeh, like the Shulchan Aruch Reish Mental. And that's really where the whole mosaic of writing up a star with a guy for Shabbos is going to come from Minias Revach Gadol. We're going to allow it to formulate the appropriate documentation that the guy is getting a share, a percentage, a part in that which works on Shabbos, if they'll be allowed to work for the Yid. Yisrael Menachi Shisha Behema B'Shatzvis. Note number 13. Isser Midaraisli Yisrael As Lenachi Aver Ba B'Shabbos. Why? Because your animal has to rest. What is the Eitzah? To sell the Behema, a real Mechira. And the guy gives a part of the money, and then the rest is just a milva, and he's working to pay off his milva. That's going to be the Eitzah to make it work. Now, how we could translate this into real life cases, obviously, is not so simple. Says the Ber Halacha, since our machmirin, even when you sell the behema, since in haram on a daraisa, therefore says the Ber Halacha, one should not go with this heter. And he adds on, Abiteach ba'Hashem, Shikol Musar Shmuz, adds on the Chafetz Chaim, Kayim Rotzayin HaTorah, V'ni Yotzei Shom Tachbulos, you don't find any interesting ways to circumvent Shabbos, Ashrov, Ubevadai, because Baruch Hu offers that slacha, but Chaz Sheshes may very chase the shikol chizik from the Dirshu over here, quoting whom? Quoting the Bir Halacha. And finally, the Dirshu concludes that Bizmanenu, Avanasina Rabim Shmir Shabbos is not so gishmak, says Ramaisha, one should be machmir and not sell to the guy. Why? To dar paros, of course, or Moshe's battle cry to save the dar as well. Or Yashiv or Vosder or Moshe points out, you got to be careful that it's not a real sale. And even when it is a real sale, we're going to see later on, you're not allowed to do this if there's still a Maris Ayin issue. This is only going to be in a case where there's no Maris Ayin, then you could do such a sale to the guy. And finally, other people don't know. Okay, we'll see further on what that means. Okay, and that is Reish Mem Gimel. One more line of the Ramah, and with that we conclude. Says the Ramah, let's say you're over. Yesh Aimrim Sheschare Mutar, Yesh Aimrim Sha'aser, Machaber Paskins, V'chein Eker. So let's see the Mishnah Berurah over here. Sevkata Tazayin. Says the Mishnah Berurah, Yesh Aimrim Sheschare Mutar. Hachroinim Eskimu D'loi Pliki. Timamakam D'mokter Medina. And a place where there is a heter, Kigoin, Sheschar Merchaz Ein Yehudi L'shana L'chaydesh. Then, the Mishab Schar Shabbos Leka Aloihu Ba'avla. Ve'ino Asel Misham Arisayin Gnam Sev Avla. Chayin B'di'evin Mut L'kab Schar Ben Yehudi. Why? Because the maximum issue is that the Rabbanan is a Marisayin. Masha Einkin, if it's rented for a few days, where it's an Isser Medina, L'chein, Afilu of you Ein Yehudi Me'atzma, it's going to be Aser. As we're going to see in Reish Mem Hey, and we'll see the Mishmurs over there. So very important. It sounds like from over here, this Makati Mekel, the Mishmur is teaching us that it's not so simple just to sell items we make. We'll pick it up from Reish Mem Hey. Amir Tzah Hashem.